Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. As you guys know, I love a tier list. So what better way to rank the performance of every single squad member of West Ham United for this season? Small disclaimer, I'm going to be taking a few things into consideration here. Their contribution to the season, how I felt they got on, because it's two slightly different things, isn't it? I'll explain as I go. And lastly, what I expected from them as well, because I think that's important. But also, I want you guys to get involved. In the pinned comments of this video, just underneath your screen is a list of all the players I'm going to be going through on this video. Copy and paste it, and just next to them write which category you would put each player. So obviously we've got excellent at the very top, self-explanatory really. Was good, also pretty self-explanatory. Good, not quite excellent, but they've had a very good season for West Ham. Alright, I guess that's the ones that done what we expected. The 6 out of 10 for the season kind of person. Then we've got a bit poor, and at the very bottom, we've got very poor. I'm pretty sure we're going to have players in every single category for this tier list, so let's get straight into it. I'm going to start with an easy one, Mr. Jarrod Bowen. Let's smash him into the top tier. Excellent, because he has been absolutely brilliant, hasn't he? I'll be honest with you, I've been a bit surprised at how good he's been. I thought he would have a strong season, a good season, but I certainly didn't expect him to be hitting the numbers he has. And when we got Jarrod Bowen in the starting 11, we've got a chance of scoring a goal. It almost doesn't really matter who else is in the team. I mean, it does, but you get what I'm trying to say here. When Jarrod Bowen plays, we have a chance of scoring goals. Plural. Excellent season for him. Looking forward to him, and I think he's our most important player this at West Ham United now. Let's move on. Ryan Fredericks, I'm going to put alright, I guess. I don't think he was bad. I think he had a couple of poor performances in there. I think he had some good performances as well. But he was missing for large parts of the season. I'm trying to take everything into consideration here. In regards to what I expected from him, it's probably what I expected. I think the season before the one just finished, I think he was very similar. Had some good performances and some poor performances. And it's what you'd expect from essentially what is our third choice right back, isn't it? Maybe played a little bit better than that. And it's one player, he looks like he's on his way out. And while I say I won't miss him, it's one of those, I've got nothing against him. I hope he goes on, if it is Fulham he joins, I hope he goes on and has a good career with them and finishes up there too. So for this season though, Ryan Fredericks, alright I guess. Alphonse Areola, it was good. I think in order for him to get into the upper category, I think he would have had to have played more games. I think he would have had to be our undisputed number one. Now obviously some fans think that he should be our undisputed number one, but the fact of the matter is he isn't. He may be next season, we'll have to wait and see. But this season I think he's had some really good performances in the Europa League. I think the domestic cups, by and large, there were some games though, especially in the group stages of the Europa League, he wasn't that busy. So it was sort of hard to really judge him on it. But certainly in knockout stages of the Europa League football, I thought he was really, really good. So overall for the season, I put him in was good because I expected him to be our number one come the end of the season. When we signed him on loan, I thought there was perhaps a bit of a succession plan in place with him and Fabianski. Turns out not to be the case. Maybe there is. It just rolls on to next season. We will have to wait and see. But for this one, it was good. But let's put him in there. Craig Dawson. I mean, he's going in one of the top two, isn't he? Yeah, do you know something? I'm going to put him in excellent. I'm aware I give him a bit more grief than most people, but I think this season he's performed really, really well. I think a lot of teams, when they were missing their first choice centre-back, because that's what Ogbonna is. Ogbonna is our first choice centre-back. A lot of teams would struggle for it. And I think there's been some games where we could have done with Ogbonna as well. But I think you can count them on one hand, actually. I think Craig Dawson's performance has been really good. You know, that performance against Lyon was one of the best performances I've seen from a centre-back. I always go back to Winston Reid at the Etihad. Nobody ever backs me up about it in the comments though, so I'm starting questioning myself as if I'm imagining it. Was Winston Reid that good at the Etihad? But I'm pretty sure he was, right? But that individual performance from Winston is something I've always remembered fondly. Craig Dawson against Lyon will be up there with Winston Reid at the Etihad for me. Really good performance from him this season. Strongly linked to centre-backs. Well, they're not going to get in straight away, the centre-back, are they? And you'd imagine if they do, it'll be to partner Kurt Zouma, and Dawson would become our third choice centre-back on paper, or possibly fourth with Ogbonna there. Not a bad option to have. But in regards to this season, I think he was excellent. I think his performances in the second half of the season gave him a big last-minute push for player of the season as well with a lot of people. I think a lot of people voted for him as Ham of the Year. While he wasn't my Ham of the Year, I get it. I could understand where people were coming from. Right, Alex Kral, sorry mate, but you're going to have to go in very poor. And it's not necessarily his fault. It's partly because I expected him to have some more game time, essentially. But the games we did see him in, I think, Kidderminster Harriers to one side, I don't think he was all that bad. I think he looked quite good in some of the cup games at Man United in particular. I thought he played quite well in that one. Would have liked to see a bit more of him. I think he's a decent enough player. For whatever reason, Moyes just hasn't fancied him. That's fine, that's what the manager wants to do. That's what the manager wants to do. But I struggle to sort of. I mean, you could maybe put him in a bit poor, but I think that's been generous, giving that he just hasn't played games. Like I said, I'm taking his contribution into consideration for this one, not just how he got on, and his contribution was very little, unfortunately. So in the very poor category he goes. I feel a bit sorry for him. I will just throw that in there. I do feel a little bit sorry for him. Next up, we've got Arthur Masuaku. I'll put a bit poor. I'm tempted to move him up a category, actually, because what I expect from Masuaku isn't loads, to be honest with you. Scored that fluky goal against Chelsea, which is always going to be a plus side, if you like. Wasn't used loads. I think he was used a few games after that one as a result of it. And I think Moyes quickly decided that that's enough of that kind of thing. We'll put back on the bench and we'll leave him there. He wasn't really somebody we called on, was he? Even when Aaron Creswell was suspended in the Europa League game against Lyon, it wasn't like, oh well, we'll get Masuaku in. He should have been the player we called upon, but instead we were playing a right back there. Now I'm aware Ben Johnson plays well at left back, I'm aware of that, but he shouldn't be the second choice left back. The second choice left back should be your second choice left back, essentially. Masuaku found himself relegated to third choice, likely to leave this summer. I hope he does. And like I said, in terms of his character and stuff, I think he's been wonderful. I've enjoyed seeing his social media posts and stuff, but we can't have a player in the team because he's good at tweets. So I'll put Masuaku in a bit poor. Soufal, it's a bit harsh because there is mitigating circumstances here in regards to his injury. But I think he's been very poor this season and compared to what we were used to. To be clear, we didn't sell him in the summer or anything like that. We didn't even bring in a right back in the summer. I'm happy with Soufal and Ben Johnson as the two right backs going forward next season. Like, Soufal was, him and Souček were our two best players last season when it came to the Ham of the Year votes and stuff. This year, they're down to the bottom of the pecking order in terms of the voting. So you have to take that into consideration. Like I said, go on then. I'll put him in a bit poor. Convince myself his injury. I'll let him off because I actually think he's looked quite good since he's come back from injury. I think he's had a couple of strong performances, and I'm hoping to see the first season Soufal next season. I'm quite optimistic that we will now that he's had his surgery. He's had a little bit of a break and a bit of a rest. I'm hoping we'll see that back. So while I'm putting him in a bit poor, I'm sort of willing to excuse it, if you like, and we move on to next season. So he's had one really good season, one not very good season so far. So next season it's crunch time. Let's see what you got, kind of thing. David Martin, I mean, what do you do with this? Where do I put him? I'll just put him in all right, I guess, because, well, I take in contribution. I mean, supposedly it's really nice around the training ground and stuff. That helps, I guess. But that, in a weird way, that's his role, isn't it? As fourth choice goalkeeper, that is his role, to be somebody that's useful on the training field. Expectancy, well, this is probably what I expected from him. So I'll put him in all right, I guess, because it's kind of difficult to put him elsewhere, really, isn't it? Ben Johnson, well, if there was a most improved column, he'd be in there with Javid Bowen. So he's going to go in. It's one of these two, isn't it? I'm trying to decide what I was expecting from Ben Johnson. So I'll put in was good. I think what I was expecting from Ben Johnson probably drags him into the excellent category. But I don't think he was quite as good as Bowen and Dawson, and there's another couple of players that we'll put in there as well. So I feel like was good is the right category for Ben Johnson. Very impressed with him. Looking forward to seeing his progress next season. My only area of concern about Ben Johnson is, well, his offensive play is on the pitch is one area of concern. My other one is he doesn't have a position really. He's sort of second choice right back and second choice left back at the minute, and he needs to almost become better at one of the two positions and make a claim for that to be his position in the starting 11. But fantastic squad option, certainly. Looking forward to seeing him next season. Looking forward to the progress of Ben Johnson. Really happy with what I've seen from him this season as well. So in he goes at was good. Now we've got Aaron Creswell. It's not the bottom two. Do you know something? I know obviously the red card at Frankfurt will play on a lot of people's minds, I think, and I understand that. I get it. But he made a mistake, a stupid mistake. He shouldn't have done it, but he did. But he's still a very good left back. By the way, I'm only plonking him down there while I speak. That's not where I'm putting him. I think we've had some really good performances from him this season, actually. I think in the first half of the season, I think he was one of our better players. I think he was, until the last month or two of the summer, I think he was almost untouchable at left back. I would have liked to have seen us bring a left back in the January window to compete with him a little bit and almost be his understudy for 6 months, and obviously give us that flexibility. If we want to change formation and use Creswell left centre back, we can, but we didn't. And I think he's one player that I think almost doesn't really get mentioned when we talk about players looking tired or jaded or stuff. And obviously Souček's the first one that comes to mind, then we think of Antonio as well. Creswell doesn't really enter the conversation, and I'm not sure why, because I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure in the Europa League group stage he was the only player to start all 6 Europa League group stage games, for example, and then he would play every Premier League game too. So I wouldn't be surprised in terms of minutes on the pitch this season. Creswell's up there with Souček and Antonio and Rice, and I think he's performed to a really good standard. Getting on a bit now. We do need a left back this summer, but again, I would not be getting rid of him. I'd be keeping him here at West Ham. Been here a while now. I hope he goes on to get a testimonial. I genuinely do. I think he's been a brilliant servant to the club. In regards to the season, I'm going to put him in was good. I think that is what he was. He was good. He certainly isn't excellent, and you can't put him in the same category as Ryan Fredericks. A good, solid season from Aaron Creswell. Who we got next up? Let's have a little look. Ooh, Darren Randolph. I'll put him in all right, I guess. It's a bit of I'm bottling it a little bit, probably, but it's, well, what do you expect from your third choice goalkeeper? We didn't need him, so in he goes there. Ogbonna, I'll put in, I don't know, because let's face it, when Ogbonna was called upon, when he was in the team before his injury, he was brilliant, wasn't he? That partnership of him and Zuma was wonderful. I feel like Mr. Kipling. That partnership was exceedingly good. When he got injured, there was obviously a wave of worry among the West Ham fan base as how we're going to perform without Ogbonna. Then obviously Zuma then got injured as well. But in regards to Ogbonna, I think if I was talking about his performances, he'd probably go up a category or two. But given his injury, and it's not his fault, I'm going to put him in alright, I guess, because I think it's been an alright season for him. Had he been fit all season, I think he'd been one of the higher ones. A bit worried long term for Ogbonna, if I'm honest with you. I hope that he does come back to full fitness and he's ready to go next season. I know we're giving him that extra year's contract, but that's out of loyalty, isn't it? It's not out of what's the word? If Ogbonna hadn't been here as long, if this was only his second season and he got that injury, I'd imagine we'd be letting him go this summer. But I think we're doing the right thing by Ogbonna, the man, almost, rather than Ogbonna, the player. I think it's a decision on sentimentality rather than football, but I hope I'm wrong. Look for next season. Like I said, I'm a bit wary. I hope he's patched up and ready to go, but his squad, he'll be a bit of a squad role next season rather than first choice centre-back, I imagine, if everything goes to plan this window. But for last season, I'll put him in alright, I guess. Issa Diop. It's one of these two. Listen, I don't think Issa Diop was very poor. I think he's had some decent... He's had a couple of stinkers though, hasn't he? I'll put him in a bit poor. And the reason for that, like I said, I think he's had some good games. I think he probably warranted some more game time. I think there was times in the second half of the season we could perhaps rotate the squad a little bit more and use Diop because he was putting in good performances when called upon, but whenever Zuma and Dawson were fit or not suspended, they'd go straight in together. But with Diop, I feel like he could have had a bit more game time. But the reason I'm putting him in a bit poor isn't necessarily because of his performances. And like I said, there was a couple of really bad ones in there as well. Leeds United springs to mind, and obviously Kidderminster as well. But it's more because I hoped he would kick on this season. I hope that we'd see Diop improve. a bit like we've seen Ben Johnson improve and Jared Bowen improve. I was hoping to see that with Issa Diop. And come this summer, we'd be talking about... Well, let's face it, last summer, when we signed Zuma, there was a hope from a lot of people, including myself, that long-term, the partnership in defence at West Ham would be Diop and Zuma. The reason I'm not expecting that anymore, it's not because of Kurt Zuma, it's because of Issa Diop. So for that reason, I'm going to put him in a bit poor, but it's more because he just hasn't really kicked on as much as I would have liked him to this season. Nikola Vlasic, well, he's going to go in very poor. I've defended him a lot, and I still will, because I still think there's a player in there. I still think that. But what you've got to take into what you expect and what his contribution is. His contribution isn't very much. What I expected was a bit more than this. I wasn't expecting him to be Ham of the Year or anything like that, but I was expecting him to at least be an option during the season. I would have liked to have seen, I don't know, 5-6 goals, 5-6 assists, something like that. Quite, smallish numbers for an attacking midfielder and kick on next year. But we've not got that from him. Again, a bit like Kral. Where is he? Where's he been for the last few weeks? And I'm aware he wasn't on the bench against Brighton, so he may have been injured. But, Chelsea away, we've rotating players, he still doesn't get into the team. Arsenal, rotating players, he still doesn't get into the team. I mean, this is worrying, isn't it? And it's hard to... I did that video solely about Nikola Vlasic a month or so ago. I said, well, last summer we only signed 2 players permanently. He was one of them. And, that signing has potentially cost us quite a lot this season, actually, because if we had had a different £25 million player in there that was able to contribute that 5 goals and 5 assists... Where could we have been in the league? What could we have done in European football or domestic cup competition? We don't know. It's all hypothetical. But in regards to what I've seen from him this season, he's going to go in very poor. And a couple of months ago, 3 months ago, I would have said, we'll keep him for next season. He'll be at West Ham next season. We'll see him kick on a bit. But I'm not too sure anymore. I think if a sufficient bid comes in, I wouldn't be surprised if we sell him. So a bit of a mystery around the signing, around the player, around his exclusion from the team. But for that reason, taking everything into consideration, and like I said, to some extent, I'm not even blaming him necessarily. It's just the lack of involvement. He's going to have to go in very poor, unfortunately, for me. Manuel Lanzini, the one player that's, again, I'm just dropping him in there, the one player that has probably benefited possibly the most from our slight change in system this year. We've come a little bit more possession based, not loads. We've we were sort of the league table of possession. We were down the bottom last season. We were in the relegation zone. Not that it mattered. We were playing counter-attacking football because we're bloody good at it, and teams were willing to have a pop at us. This year a bit less so, a little bit more wary of West Ham. Therefore we end up having more possession and having to sort of try and create something from a little bit deeper, from open play with knocking the ball about. And I think Lanzini's the one player that's probably benefited from that slight change, and his ball of attention is one of the better of the squad. I think our style suited him. So I'm going to put him in all right, I guess. I'm going to leave him in there because I think he's had some really good games. I do. But I think he's had some games where he's just been missing. I think maybe they were perhaps the wrong games to play him in, or he's been in the wrong sort of position in the starting 11. But there's been some games that have just completely bypassed him. When we've done the player ratings, it's almost difficult to give him a mark because I don't remember him. It's almost like a ghost that we've had played for us. And that's happened too often this season. In regards to what I expected from him, I think he's done a bit better. I thought there was almost doubts as to even have the future under David Moyes at West Ham. But this year he's got back in the starting 11. He's finished the season in the starting 11, which is great progress. But like I said, I think there's just been a few games where he hasn't quite turned up enough. And all right, I guess, doesn't mean he's been bad. It means he's had a decent season, and I think that's what Lanzini's had, a decent season. Right, who we got next? Michail Antonio. Well, I'm going to put, it's one of the top 2, 100%. I think it's one of the top 2. I'm going to put him in was good though, because I think there's just been some games where it hasn't quite worked for him. I think maybe fatigue has caught up with him a little bit in playing Thursday, Sunday caught up with him. And again, that's perhaps not his fault because there's just nobody to take his place so we could give him a little bit of a break. But there's been loads of games this season when he's been on it and he's been one of, if not the best player on the pitch for us. Another 10 goals this season for him this season. 3 seasons on the bounce now. He's scored at least 10 goals in all competitions, which is a really good return for a striker at West Ham, and very happy with his performances. Generally, I think, if you go look at our best games this season, I'd imagine Antonio's in beast mode in all of them. And when he plays well, West Ham play well. I think that's the one difference what I will say about him in, my own Felipe Anderson theory. My own Felipe Anderson theory was Anderson would only play well when West Ham are playing well. West Ham would go 1-0 up, then you'd see Anderson turn up and look like the best player on the pitch at times. But I never really felt Anderson did enough to get West Ham 1-0 up. Does that make sense? Whereas Antonio, I think, is different. I think Antonio plays well, West Ham go 1-0 up. He doesn't need us to play well. Even against Brighton, a slightly different role for him. I thought he did all right. I thought he kept the defence busy. I thought he put in a good shift. Fantastic goal as well. So I've been really happy with Antonio's season, actually. There's just been a period, too many games where he wasn't quite at it, and I think that's down to fatigue more than anything. So maybe it's a bit harsh to score him down for that, but like I said, I'm trying to take everything into consideration when I'm doing this. So Antonio, 12's good, which is a really good marking. It is a really good marking. Yarmolenko, it's a bit poor, was alright, isn't it? I mean, he scores that 2 goals which are crucial. That goal against Sevilla, that goal against Aston Villa, both goals are massive for us. And this obviously wasn't this season, but it's like the Chelsea goal where, as a season overall, he's not done great, has he? He's not been involved loads, but he's stepped up when we've needed somebody to step up. He's done it. When we've needed somebody with a little bit extra compared to what else we've had in that game in question, he's turned up with that little bit of extra. And I think my heart's trying to say put him in alright, I guess, and leave him in alright, I guess. But I'm going to put him in a bit poor because, those 2 games aside, and there's probably another couple of good games in there where he played reasonably well. Chelsea, I thought he played quite well against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. But overall, I think his contribution just hasn't been quite enough. His performance hasn't been quite enough. There's been games where we've brought him on and he's almost been strolling around. It's just not quite good enough, really. But in regards to sort of his attitude, he's impressed me a lot with sort of the more you hear from the club about his character and how determined he is to sort of, I guess, be fit. And I know it's something so silly, and as a fans we think, well, why would every player not play for the under-23s when they're not playing for the first team? But they don't, do they? Not every first team player goes and plays for the under-23s. Yarmolenko wants to. When he's not playing in the first team, or he goes a couple of games on the benches as an unused sub, he almost wants to play in the next under-23s game to keep his fitness up. And something, I've got a lot of time and respect for that, but I can't really upgrade him because of that. So I'll leave him in a bit poor because I think that's what it was. But it's where it is, isn't it? He's off in the summer, and I do wish him the best. I hope he goes on, and I hope he goes back to Ukraine and plays for the club he wishes to over there as well. And yeah, thank you very much, Yarmolenko. You've given us some memories as West Ham United fans, which is more than can be said for a lot of people that's come in and left West Ham United over the years. Pablo Fornals. I'm going to put... I'm going to put him in good. I think there's a lot of people, when they reply to this video, they're going to put him in poor. I think Fornals will split a lot of people. I think there might be even some people might put him in excellent, and there'll be some people who put him in very poor. I think he'll be in the middle 3 categories. I think some will have him in good, some will have him in alright, some will have him in a bit poor. And I can actually understand the argument for all 3. But the reason I'm putting Fornals in there is because at times he does have that little bit of X factor. The pass for Javi Bowen's goal against Manchester City, got the assist in Lyon as well, the corner for Craig Dawson, which was huge, a huge goal. And I think his work ethic is something that, it's what we demand, isn't it, at West Ham? We want players to put in that shift. He does it every single week, even if he's having a bad game. Even if Fornals is having an absolute stinker on the ball, and he's had some, that's why he's in there and not the top one. Fine that out of possession, he's going to almost have a really good game. I think in terms of off the ball, he turns up every single week, and that's why Moyes keeps on playing him, and he gets away with having poor games in possession. But at times he's the difference for us, and he should be a bit better. There's a little bit of me, there's a part of me, that would have expected a bit more from Fornals this season, if I'm honest. I think, there's some games I think he's wonderful, but I don't think they're enough. And next season, if we can get that consistency up and running with him, I think he'd be a hell of a player. It's a big if, though. Can he do it? We'll have to wait and see. I'm looking forward to seeing Fornals next season, though. But this season, I think he's had a good one. A strong season from Fornals. And I think part of the reason I have a bit of an issue, funny enough, right underneath him is Lanzini. I think sometimes when you have both of them in the team, it's a little bit samey, if that's not the right word, is it? I reckon if you had Jesse Lingard instead of Lanzini in there, I think you'd have so the front four would be Fornals, Jesse, Bowen and Antonio. I think you'd see a better Fornals. I think because his work rate is what allows the other players to play well. But when you've got someone like Lanzini in there who doesn't quite grab the game by the scruff of the neck as what Lingard did last season, it sort of puts the spotlight in Fornals a little bit more. Hopefully that makes sense. But I think he's had a good season. Right, who we got next? Declan in excellent. He goes world class, isn't he? Unbelievable performances. Every time we do the review, man of match, he's always in contention. Even when Declan Rice has had a poor game, he's still one of our better players. His improvement this season, the variety of his game is just stepped up a notch. Every game he changes. I watched the game against Brighton, the most recent one. He's dropping back further than I've seen him drop back all season, and he's picking the ball up and playing it out to the sides. He doesn't do that every week. It's almost like he tailored it against Brighton. Wonderful player. Love watching Declan Rice. Love Declan Rice. But this season, I think he's been unbelievable and a deserved Ham of the Year. He was my vote for Ham of the Year as well. So, excellent. He goes. The funny thing is, even when you take expectancy into consideration, this is what I expected from Declan Rice. My standards of Declan are sky high, but he meets them. He delivers that. So, in he goes. Kurt Zuma, do you know something? In you go. Excellent as well. Now, I'm obviously not taking into consideration Catgate. I'm leaving that out. But on the pitch, when Kurt Zuma plays, we are just better. When Zuma's in defence, our defence is just better. When Zuma plays, we've got a better chance of winning. It's just like Jared. Funny enough, you can say that about the 4 players on the top of that list there, actually, with Bowen, Dawson, Rice and Zuma. When they play, we just get better. If you take them out, we miss them. I think that's possibly the biggest compliment you can get as a player, that when you're not playing, the team is worse off for it. I think Kurt Zuma has been magnificent in some games this season. It's been 1 or 2 iffy ones, but that's all. Just 1 or 2. You can count them on one hand how many poor games he's had. I think he's had a hell of a lot more good ones. More good games than average games is what I would say for Kurt Zuma. And when we're linked to all the centre-backs this season, this summer coming up, we're linked to spending big money on centre-back. I don't think it's Kurt Zuma that we lose his place. Obviously age comes into consideration as well, but I think whenever a defender runs at Kurt Zuma, I always think good luck. You're not getting past him. When teams cross the ball, I'm aware we've conceded from a corner, but that's from zonal marking. But whenever teams are crossing the ball from open play, I just think good luck against Zuma and Dawson. Good luck. They'll win everything. Magnificent player. Mark Noble, I'll put him in alright, I guess. I think this is what we expected. This is what we all hoped Mark Noble would do in his final season, isn't it? Which is be a squad player, be a bit part player. When called upon, I think he's had some good games. I think he's had 1 or 2 games where he looked a little bit, he was struggling. There was one recently, I can't remember, Chelsea I think it was, where he just looked a little bit a yard behind the gameplay. But the following week, Arsenal, he followed up with a really good performance. We've utilised him well this season, actually. I will say that Moyes has generally got it right when to play Noble and when not to play Mark Noble. Same with bringing him on as subs as well to see games out, or if we're struggling to get a hold of the ball, we've brought him on and it's usually helped us out a little bit. So I think he's had a good season, Mark, actually. Tempted to move him up to good, but I think that's just the old ticker tugging at my sentimentality, heartstrings there. I made that hard work, didn't I? So Mark Noble, I'll put him in alright, I guess. Thomas Souček, right, well, this is... I'll put him in a bit poor. It has been not a great season for him, but I think there's a few things you have to take into consideration for that. It's sort of a new role for him, or both, him and Rice. I think there's a new roles there, which I don't think it helps. We've seen him getting into the opposition box less, which is, a big part of his game. He must be one of the best centre midfielders in the world, and we've not really utilised it this season. And I've always felt, those that have watched the channel since Souček joined will know that I've always felt he's a little bit limited on the ball. Now, while I think Lanzini's benefited from West Ham having slightly more possession this season, I think it's exposed Souček a little bit. I think at times we've been crying out for creativity from a deeper position at West Ham, where we're looking at centre midfielders and the full-backs saying, well, you're going to have to do something because Fornals or Ben Rama or whoever it is in that attacking trio position, they're struggling a little bit today. We're coming up against a side sitting a little bit deeper than they did last year. We don't have Lingard anymore to unlock the defence, so we're going to need some help here. And I just don't think they get it from Souček enough. And I think when you look around at the other midfield in the top 6-7 of the Premier League, I think most of them have got a centre midfielder that can do that can just play that pass in between the lines or whatever, which Souček is lacking a little bit. But I think his contract situation doesn't help. I think we've all been in a job. Every one of us has been in a job where we're not happy for whatever reason, whether it be pay related, working hour related, the performance of your colleagues, whatever. We've all been at a job where we're just not quite happy, and it does impact you. It impacts your sort of your motivation, your enjoyment of work and stuff. So there's no reason why it wouldn't impact Souček. This contract situation has been rumbling on for a year now, where he's wanted better pay in line with, well, Kurt Zouma, and he's not been getting it. So for a year, he's obviously not been too happy with the contract he's on at West Ham. That is going to impact him. So I think there's a lot of factors taken into consideration here. However, I think he's a good centre midfielder. I think he's a good player for West Ham. I wouldn't sell him this summer unless silly money for Souček comes in. I'm looking forward to seeing him next season. And I guess it's up to us as a club to sort of work out how we can fix it, which is the contract situation itself and his role next season in the team. It needs to be slightly different to what we've seen this year, I think. So I'm going to put him in a bit poor because I think it has been a poor season for him. He's not had a break, even not just for West Ham. He's been playing Sunday, Thursday every week, but also Czech Republic as well. There was that week he went away with Czech Republic, played 3 games, and one of the games he went to extra time. And then he came back and played 90 minutes for West Ham, and he just looked shattered in it. He probably is shattered. So I hope he has a good summer. I hope he gets his feet up in a weird way. I'm kind of glad Czech Republic's not at the World Cup this year, so that come November he gets a bit more time off as well. And I'm expecting to see a better Souček next year. When I do this next year, I expect Souček to be in the second one at worst. He's got it in him. We just need to see it a bit more at West Ham. Lucas Fabianski, it's a difficult one. It's not the top one. It's not excellent. It's not the bottom one. I don't think it's a bit poor either. I think that would be harsh. I think it's good or alright. And I think the problem is when you're doing this, it's easier to remember the last month than it is to remember the first month of the season, naturally. And in the last month, he's made a couple of errors, hasn't he? Against Brighton, he's made that mistake. I can't remember now who it was against. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, he's made some errors over the last few weeks, and I think that comes into consideration. But he's a good goalkeeper, Fabianski. I think there's been some games he's been really, really good, man of the match contenders, and there's been other games where he's been one of our not so good players on the pitch. There's also been other games where he's not been involved that much because the defence in front of him is that good. I'm actually going to put him in good. I think, like Fornals, a lot of people watching this right now are massively disagreeing with me and saying, no, get him down a couple of categories, but I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to leave him in good. I think he's had a good year. I'm pleased that it looks like he's going to be part of the squad next season as well. I think he's been one of our best signings in recent seasons. What we've got from Lucas Fabianski in return for the fee that we've weighed out is a lot. He's more than repaid his fee. The next year has to be his last year at West Ham. He's 37 years old as we speak, so this time next year he's 38. Perhaps he'll still be doing it, but we have to. Next season's a big season for the goalkeeping situation at West Ham United. Said Benrahma, again, he's not excellent and he's not very poor, and again, a bit like Fabianski and Fornals, I think he's going to be in that 3 categories. I think he's going to split the viewers of this video. He's got his big fans at West Ham, and he's got some people that just aren't too convinced by him. I'm somewhere in the middle. I think he's a good player. I just don't think the consistency's there. I think some games he should be doing a bit more, and there's other games where I think he's doing plentiful and then gets subbed, and I think it's a bit harsh. So it's a difficult one to gauge. I feel like I sit on the fence a lot with Said Benrahma, but it's just my honest opinion. I think His numbers are really strong this season as well, and I'll be honest, when I seen them a couple of weeks ago, I was surprised at how many goals and assists he's got, because it didn't feel like that, which just says more about me than Ben Rama, obviously. I'm going to leave him in good. I think he's had a good season. I think he's improved a lot compared to the previous season. I think you look at the players we're being linked with at the minute going into the summer. Now, I know it's just rumours and speculation, but there's no big money left winger signing on the horizon by the looks of it, which would indicate that Moyes has got a plan for that left wing role next season. And at the minute, it's Fornals and Ben Rama, isn't it? I know Gonzo will be fuming to hear that because he's desperate for a left winger. But I do wonder if this is why we're perhaps interested in Lewis Potter to come in, and there's enough there between Ben Rama and Fornals and a younger player who's not quite ready for the Premier League. There's enough game time to be spread around the three of them. There's enough options there, 3 different players too. Ben Rama, though, I will be honest, I want to see more from him next season. We need him to kick on a little bit. I think when he's on his game, he can be the difference between West Ham getting 1 point in 3. We just need to see it a little bit more often. I'm tempted to move him down to alright. He's sort of here for me. Ben Rama's like there. I think he's in that bit, but I'll leave him in good. I'll be generous. I'm feeling good today, so I'll leave Ben Rama in there. And there you have it. That's my West Ham tier list for this season. You can get involved. The pinned comments has got a list of all the players. Just copy, paste, and just write which category you put them in. Either 1 to 5, 1 being the best, or just write excellent, so on and so forth. I'll work it out. But there you go, just to recap. Excellent. I've got Jared Bowen, Craig Dawson, Declan Rice, and Kurt Zouma. In was good. I've got Areola, Ben Johnson, Aaron Creswell, Mikel Antonio, Pablo Fornals, Lucas Fabianski, and Saïd Benrahma. In alright, I guess. It's what I was expecting from them. It's Ryan Fredericks, David Martin, Darren Randolph. Do you know something? I feel bad about Ogbonna being in there. I'm moving him up. Ogbonna's going to good. In alright, I've got Lanzini and Noble. In a bit poor, I've got Masuaku, Sifal, Diop, Yarmolenko and Sucha. I feel harsh putting a couple of those players in there. No, I'm sticking with it. It's my honest opinion. And then very poor, put Kral and Vlasic. But the thing is with those two is they just didn't get a chance, did they? We won't see Kral next season, but we either need to see more of Vlasic next season, or we need to not see him at all, which is he's been sold and we've got as much money back as possible. But there you have it. That's my tier list for the players' performances this season. Get involved in the comments below. Thank you for joining me in this video. If you enjoyed it, drop a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you in a bit.